Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video and it's titled Russel Brand and Jordan Peterson have heated gender debate. And you guys, I'm excited for this. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
Stay free with me, Russel Brand.
The things that I wanted to start with, given Elon Musk's recent takeover of Twitter, is whether he is a distinct and discrete category of billionaire. How is he different? How is he the same? And how will Elon Musk's position at Twitter alter your position on Twitter?
Well, that remains to be seen. I'm still banned, so that hasn't changed. I mean, he's suggested that he might reinstate Trump. Whether or not that means he'd reinstate me is a matter of question. It isn't obvious to me that the people who run the social media networks know exactly how to regulate them with any degree of utility. You know, I've probably read 100,000 comments online, or maybe more, and I've tried to read them with a psychologist's eye. And there are some things going on online that are, I think, that actually pose a threat to the integrity of the culture itself. The biggest problem that I can see is that the large online platforms allow anonymous troll demons to rampage through society with no cost to themselves. And I can identify these people quite accurately now. This will make a number of the people who are watching and listening uncomfortable because they'll be in the list of people who do this sort of thing. So The first thing is they have an anonymous name. The second thing is the anonymous name usually has something psychologically significant about it in a very negative direction. So it's self-denigrating, or it's demonic, or it's otherwise offensive, and purposefully so. And then the people who are utter cowards, likely to be narcissists and Machiavellians, resentful people sitting in their basement at home, dwelling on their misery and doing everything they can to spew toxicity out into the world. Alone in their bedrooms, they're just isolated people who aren't causing any trouble. But as soon as they multiply themselves millions of times using this incredible, powerful computer technology, they're not even human anymore. In my estimation, they're literally a demonic force. And I mean that in a technical sense, right? You and I aren't exactly you and I in this conversation because we're amplified hundreds of times or thousands of times or hundreds of thousands of times. And so we're not just human, we're androids in some sense operating in a virtual space. And these online trolls have that power because they have access to an audience that they would never gather by their own merits. They are saying things that are derisive and inflammatory and that would absolutely 100% get them punched if they ever said it in public. Imagine that there's a hierarchy of unconstrained people, and there's a variety of people who are very unconstrained, but in normal social discourse would be able to keep themselves under control because of the controls that are there in normal social discourse. You lift those controls and they just go off. And so that's what we're seeing online. And that has to be stopped. I think the large tech companies should be required to put in know your customer laws. They should ban anonymous accounts, but in this way. Imagine that you have a section for comments where it's real human beings that are verified, and you have another section underneath that's for anonymous troll demons. And if you want to go visit their hell and see what their resentful minds are spewing into the public landscape, then you can. Otherwise, you stick to the real human beings. And I don't know if Musk and the other people who are running the big social media networks understand the pathology that's associated with this online commentary well enough to control it. So we'll see.
What I would like to draw your attention to, still sort of within the broad rubric of looking at Musk's acquisition of Twitter and how that may play out and how it may affect you personally. I was myself struck with, I think the tweet that you were banned for was sort of like commenting on Elliot Page. How do we prioritize compassion, kindness, love? And can't this basic palette of principles prevent us from getting into conflict?
Wow, you guys, I totally agree with what Jordan Peterson said concerning KYC, because I don't know what Jordan Peterson has said online that merited him to be banned, that other people haven't said 10 times over. You guys, let me know your thoughts on what Jordan Peterson said. Do you think that this larger platform should implement some kind of KYC on people and also filter what people are able to post on these platforms. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I'm really having fun reacting to Jordan Peterson. He's saying a lot of truth, but let me know your thoughts on this one, and let's continue watching, you guys.
It's obvious to me that love can be reduced to compassion at all, because for a variety of reasons. First of all, I think love is a multidimensional virtue. And there's many other virtues than compassion. Think about it this way, Russell. Imagine that the purest expression of compassion is the love of a mother for a true infant. We could really think about that as true compassion, 100% compassion. And the reason for that is that if you have an infant from birth to, say, 6 months old, nothing the infant does is ever to be questioned. The proper response to the infant is, whatever the cause of their distress, you immediately prioritize its reduction. But then as the child starts to develop, and as soon as it becomes capable of its own voluntary movement, as soon as it becomes ambulatory, its nervous system starts to change, of course. But then there are other elements that have to be introduced into the relationship to make it a relationship of proper love. And some of that's judgment, which is often considered antithetical to compassion. And some of it's encouragement, and encouragement has a fair bit of judgment in it, because when you're encouraging someone, you're not exactly being compassionate for who they are. You're doing what you can to facilitate who they could be. And what you're doing constantly when you're encouraging someone is prioritizing who they could be over who they are. And that's an element of judgment. And that judgment, you might say, if you're not thinking about it precisely from the religious perspective, is your own ability to decide which parts of you should go. Then the question is, are you compassionate for who you are, or are you compassionate for who you could be? And the second is just as important, or maybe more important.
And when that's applied to the self, I can see that the requirement for this judgment, the great success you've had in, clean your room, stand up straight, these kind of edicts offered to young men or young people who require discipline, I can see the success of that. But Jordan, I feel that when it becomes an outward strike of like, this person should not have done this thing, this is the impact these actions will have on the culture, this will lead to this kind of denigration, this will lead to decisions that are, in my view, palpably wrong. I feel that this is where we have to redress an imbalance around compassion. I feel that Elliot Page should be able to do whatever Elliot Page wants to do, and that my only role is to say, I recognise that I don't understand, and why would I understand? There are less obvious things that you could never understand about me. They're less evident and obvious, and for me, the basic principle of kindness and compassion is going to be my guide when dealing with Elliot Page and when posting something about Elliot Page. I do have recourse to the idea of, what do I want Elliot Page to feel? Happy, accepted. That's what I want Elliot Page to feel. And if there are aspects of that I don't understand, then I'm willing to take the hit.
When you think about your behavior on your YouTube channel, you're spending a lot of time in public criticism, and going after large corporations, going after those who are engaged in fascist collusion, and I think rightly so. I think that you're an extremely useful voice in that regard, and you're a critical voice, and you're a critical comedic voice, which is a good kind of critical voice, and not exactly compassionate, right? Because you're also using creativity on the humor side to make your point, and you're doing it in a playful way, and I think that playful criticism is the hallmark of the master critic. And I think the joker and the jester in that regard are master critics. But that's not compassion, right? That's a different virtue. And often it's very, very pointed. You do act as a social critic in many, many ways, and you do leaven it with comedy, and I think that's extraordinarily appropriate. It's part of what's given you such a broad voice, and that criticism is absolutely necessary. Now, let's speak about Elliot Page more specifically. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is the fact that in the UK, the Tavistock Clinic was recently closed. And that was the biggest clinic doing gender transformation surgery that operated in the British world. 1,000.
Wow, you guys, this is such an interesting conversation between Russel Brand and Jordan Peterson. I'm really enjoying every minute of this debate right here. And let me know what you guys think about this. Jordan Peterson is a whole lot, and there's a whole lot to gain from listening to him. He's so knowledgeable, and I can't even get tired of listening to this man. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and let's wrap this video up, you guys.
Of the 19,000 kids have now launched a lawsuit for medical malpractice. And when Elliot Page went online and showed off his or her new chest, she or he got 1.7 million Instagram likes. So then the question is, okay, compassion. Well, I think Elliot Page stepped over the line from victim to perpetrator, because when girls hit puberty, their negative emotion spikes and they develop bodily image problems, because neurotic, and that would be negative emotional experience for women, is extremely tightly tied to body image. And so if you're a girl who is undergoing the hormonal changes that are going to elevate your negative emotion, which is what happens at puberty, you're going to be focused on body image. And if you're an unpopular girl and you're awkward socially, the probability that you're going to think something's wrong with your body is almost 100% if you're female.
So I can see what makes you angry about it. It's your analysis and it's your opinion that it's a powerful influencer and it's going to lead people to make decisions that are going to be detrimental to their lives. But the evident and palpable anger, I feel, diminishes your position, because now anger is in the conversation. I think you offer a great deal that is valuable and necessary, but I feel beyond the value and necessity of honesty, authenticity, and information that is underwritten by data and experience, I feel that it creates more opposition to approach a matter like this in the manner that you have done. What are we going to anchor ourselves to ultimately, Jordan, navigating this space? Are we going to be participants in creating more and more ossified and oppositional camps, or are we going to create cartilage between us so that we can move between a room that Jordan Peterson is in and a room that Elliot Page is in and say, look, I believe in love, and I know it's complicated. I think you're beautiful and full of love. I really believe in that. And then when I sort of hear people being dismissive of you, it upsets me. It upsets me, and I see how you arm them. I feel that you arm them by sort of, in their language, dead naming Elliot Page. And I feel like why would you do that? It isn't necessary. It isn't necessary. Of course, it's the statistics you've cited about the Tavistock Clinic appear to speak for themselves. Is there a way that we can handle this that would be more akin to how we might imagine Christ would handle it? Otherwise, what's the point of Christianity? What's the point of Christianity if we're not going to embody Christ in our behavior?
Look, everybody who's operating in the online space that we're operating is trying to get the tone right? And you do that in part by paying attention to the audience, and you do that by trying to see how people are responding, and not in a way that's pandering, but in a way that's open and attentive. And it's a very difficult thing to get right. So the question you're asking is, well, when is anger appropriate? When is it not appropriate? When is it only inflammatory? That's a really hard question to answer, to get that balance between judgment and encouraging acceptance right. I suppose part of the problem is we don't know exactly how emotions scale in an online environment, right? And definitely I found that even when I'm delivering very cutting material, as I just wrote an article for the Telegraph on the upcoming privation that Europe is going to be facing and the rest of the world in the winter. And I tried to read it as calmly as I possibly could, even though it's extremely cutting. And the calm delivery seems to alienate fewer people and bring people in more than an angry delivery without any shift in semantic content. The right principle is probably something like minimal necessary force in your personal interactions and minimal necessary emotion in your online behavior. But it's hard to know exactly what that means. And it's not as if I think I've done it perfectly. I mean, you move like this towards that central line that hopefully is moving uphill.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Jordan Peterson and Russel Brand. It was such an entertaining interaction, and I really had fun with this particular one. If you guys totally enjoyed watching, give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.